This is the 40 Thrive Podcast, Episode 6.
You're listening to the 40 Thrive Podcast, the show created for women 40 and beyond, ready to shake things up. Get exclusive access to expert advice, support, and strategies that will inspire, motivate, and give you the tools to not just survive, but thrive. And now, your host, Jackie McDougall.
Welcome to the 40 Thrive Podcast. I'm really excited for this episode today with Diann Wingert. Many of you know her from the podcast. Some of you know her from the live events that we have done in 2018 where Diann spoke. But she is a life coach, a former therapist, a badass broad who is so gifted in using her expertise as a former therapist, along with her extensive experience in so many different areas. If you want to hear even more from Diann, head on over to episode 4, where Diann talks about midlife crisis versus midlife awakening in a way that really kind of opens our minds and our hearts to new possibilities. Diann, thank you so much for joining me again today.
How could I resist?
Well, you said anytime, so I'm taking you up on that.
I sure did, didn't I?
So I want to talk about something real quick. This is going to be sort of a mini episode because I think that this topic is so important, especially at the beginning of the year, that I want to talk about it. And this is one of those episodes that this is not a one-time only listen to episode. This is something that people need to pull out, I don't know, weekly, monthly, annually, whenever you need a shift. So the topic I want to talk about is mindset, because I know you are a pro at mindset.
It's my favorite topic ever. So let's do it.
Yes. And so like I have said on the past podcast, and also when you do live events with us, that what I am obsessed with about you is your intersection of experience and expertise. And so I know that you have used mindset in coaching because you are a life coach, but also in your own life through a lot of challenges. So talk to me, what does mindset mean to you?
Mindset is, for me, the intentional choice about how I think about what I'm thinking about. So what I mean by that is that our brains are constantly running. Our minds are constantly thinking. As long as we're alive, we're thinking. We're even thinking in our sleep. It's what we call dreams. But most of the time, our thoughts are just kind of running in the background like elevator music, really more or less on autopilot. And because of the way the brain works, we are, for the most part, thinking the same thoughts every day in and day out. Week after week, year after year, I'm sad to say, decade after decade, most of us are recycling the thoughts that we started thinking when we were little kids. Now, the brain loves to do this because it's super lazy, the brain that is, and it's easier for the brain to just keep recycling old thoughts. It can literally put things on autopilot and go take a nap. What's not so great for us about that is if you are a woman in your 40s, 50s, or beyond, how well do you think the thoughts of an 8-year-old girl are still serving you? In my opinion, not so well. So for me, mindset is very intentionally taking control of what you're thinking so that the mind that you are working your life around today actually fits who you are today. Make sense?
That makes perfect sense. You know, what I have found with some of the women that I've worked with or that I talk to through 40 Thrive is they know how powerful the mind is, but they don't believe that they can actually shift it. So what's fascinating to me is that if someone tells you at 8 years old that you're fat and you are 48 years old and you are not, that you still believe these words from when you were 8 and that you don't feel like you actually have the power to change what you believe. So how does one go from being 48 and still believing the stuff that they were told that when they were 8? How do you change it?
It's such a good point, Jackie, because you're absolutely right. It's totally been my experience too, first as a psychotherapist of many years and in the last few years as a coach. Sort of my first hurdle with a lot of my clients is that they want to change. They may feel they need to change. They recognize the consequences of not changing. But when I tell them it's not enough to change your behavior, it's not enough to change the circumstances in your life, you actually need to change from the inside out by changing what you're thinking. They're like, how am I supposed to do that?
Right.
You're right. People don't believe they can change their thoughts on purpose, but it's simply not true. And I'll give you an example. Like, I'm not a big Madonna fan. Never really was. Or Britney Spears. Like, there's a lot of like hugely popular pop stars, artists of all kinds. And when I would see them on stage and see people just going crazy for them, I would think, I just don't think this person's that talented. But when I would witness that individual, I would realize that they believe they are the most talented person on the planet. Later on in life, I started noticing there are people, women in particular, because I mostly work with women, who are beautiful, intelligent, educated, successful. They are what we might call the full package. However, they are insecure, lacking in confidence, and feeling like they don't deserve a good life and all that goes with it. So you're like, what's happening here?
Right.
Some people think of themselves as being fantastic, even if they can't back it up. And other people actually are fantastic, but don't believe it. So I got so obsessed with that. And what I realized after studying neuroscience and positive psychology and personal growth is that you actually can choose how you want to think about yourself, how you want to feel about yourself, what you want to believe about yourself. And here's the big reveal. People think thoughts and beliefs are different. Like, well, your thoughts are just kind of what's sort of running through your head at any given moment. Your beliefs, those are really powerful. It's not true. A belief, from the standpoint of the human brain, is simply a thought you've had a lot of practice thinking.
Interesting.
I know. So if you think, so let's go back to your example. You're 8 years old and maybe you're a little chubby, and maybe you have a mom that's like obsessed with, being thin. And so she tells you you're fat and she shames you and you go to fat camp and all that stuff. Now you're a grown ass woman. You're no longer fat, but you still think you are. And you're still obsessed with that and feeling insecure about that. It's a belief that you're fat. You could pass a lie detector test.
Right.
But it's simply a thought that's so familiar to you that just keeps on showing up automatically in your mind and that you don't challenge because you don't realize you can. I'm here to tell you, you can, and it's not as hard as you might think.
Absolutely. I love that you just said that because working with women in creative fields and doing the 40 Thrive reboot and all these different ways I get to really kind of connect with women and what their insecurities are and what their fears are. The only difference between somebody who is doing something that you really want to do in your life and you, or one, not you in particular, is that they believe it. They're often not smarter or have more opportunity, and they certainly don't get more hours in the day. So I see a difference with people, and it's fascinating because somebody who maybe, say I'm a singer and I'm a beautiful singer, which I am not, and somebody is less talented, naturally gifted, less gifted than I am, they could go so much further if they believe that they are this amazing singer. It is so powerful, the whole idea of mindset and belief and thought. And I love talking to you about it because you come from that science-backed place. It's not just the woo-woo. So what would you tell somebody?
I have nothing against woo-woo.
I love woo-woo.
I mean, I think it's fun. You've heard me say this before, Jackie, is that I'm probably about half a woo. I don't reject it, but I have such a strong science background that that's what grounds me. And I'll tell you something about what I've learned about mindset is that I've been a meditator for about 10 years. And because I have a very active mind, I didn't believe that I could meditate. I did not believe it would be possible for me to slow my mind down and meditate. And because I believed that so thoroughly, with zero evidence, by the way, I was like, oh no, someone would tell me, you should really try meditation. And I'm like, oh no, that would never work for me. I couldn't possibly do that.
I hear people say that all the time.
All the time. And they would say, but have you tried it? Well, no, but. So finally I did. Guess what? I can meditate.
Right.
Right?
I mean, maybe you don't come out meditating for 20 minutes perfectly silent. Like maybe you need a guide. I personally need a guided meditation, somebody to tell me what to do. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's longer, sometimes I'm already in bed. But you're absolutely right that, people think they need to be in that, on a yoga mat in the, pretzel position to be able to meditate. And really it's just getting quiet with yourself for as long as you can.
There's so many ways that you can do it, but I think it's, especially at this time of year, the beginning of the year, and, a lot of people talk about New Year's resolutions or people setting intentions for the year or setting their big goals for the year or choosing a theme or a word for the year. And do you know how long most New Year's resolutions or big changes that people want to make starting in January, do you know how long those tend to last? And this is, again, for the people who actually take the actions to create those new habits, as opposed to the billions of people who say they're going to do it and don't make any effort whatsoever. But the ones who genuinely try, how long do you think it lasts?
I don't know, 3 weeks, maybe?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Wow.
And the reason why is not because people are weak or lazy or they are not really committed or they don't have willpower. Those are beliefs. Those are mindsets. The reason why is because we need to practice believing we can. I'm going to tell you and your listeners one of my favorite little free tools that's so helpful in beginning to change your mindset about what you're capable of. It is an app that's called Think Up.
Nice. Okay.
It's a free app. You can get it on your phone. And here's something amazing about that. For someone who wants to change their mindset, who wants to start learning to believe that they can think differently, they can become a different person. They can be more successful. They can be more confident. They can lose weight, whatever the thing is that they want to do. And they're having trouble moving forward because they don't yet believe it. The Think Up app, the free version, allows you to record in your own voice 4 different affirmations. They have a bunch of suggestions. Wow. They have a bunch of suggestions, but you can also just come up with your own. Now, what I love about this is that because it's your voice, your brain doesn't resist the new information as much as if it was someone else's voice, sort of like a subliminal suggestion.
Fascinating.
So you listen to it, and I encourage my clients to listen to it in the morning when they're just waking up because their mind is more at ease. They might be more suggestible. And then again, when they're going to sleep, and an affirmation might be, I achieve my goals effortlessly. What would be possible if you just listened to yourself saying that several times a day and just practiced believing it? Your brain will start throwing up a lot of objections and a lot of resistance. You could just kind of like simmer down and just listen to it, repeat it out loud. Through repetition alone, you can start noticing that your internal critic that's objecting to this new thought, it's only an artifact of your lazy brain that doesn't want to learn new things because it's already used to thinking that you're fat, lazy, and stupid from childhood. But if you persist with it, you can start recognizing, maybe I can achieve my goals easily and effortlessly. And then watch out what happens next.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm downloading the app right now and I suggest everyone else does too. But, it's amazing because have you ever seen those people, maybe you haven't seen them for a little bit and you look at them and you're like, what's different? Have you lost weight or did you wax your eyebrows? Like what is different? And you realize that they've been doing some of that work, some of that inner work to change the programming that they have heard for so many years. And they look lighter, they look happier, and you can't help but want to be around them so you can learn it too.
It's so inspiring, Jackie, because truthfully, most of us just don't know. We don't know how important choosing our mindset is. We're just running the program, or I would say the program's kind of running us, honestly. It's just sort of running and we believe ourselves. I always say there's two problems that humans have. One is that we're always thinking, and two is that we always believe ourselves. And the problem is that we're thinking, for the most part, old recycled thoughts that no longer serve us and maybe never did, without realizing we can update and upgrade those thoughts. We can literally change our mind and change our life if only we knew. And for anyone listening to this who's like, well, that sounds great, but I don't think I can do this. Just try it for a week as an experiment. Download the free app and just see what happens. Don't take beliefs that are so far from where you are now, because your brain will really put up a fight. Choose ones that are just a little bit further and more aspirational from where you are, and practice. And I would be very curious to know what happens when you do.
I think we need to do a little challenge inside the 40 Thrive Facebook group.
Oh, let's do it.
Let's get some people on there. So head on over to our 40 Thrive Facebook group and join Diann. We're gonna lead a challenge there. I'm throwing down the challenge to you to just for a week, and we all show up and we just kind of start shifting our mindset, because it's so much more doable than we could ever imagine.
I'll tell you what. This is such a good idea. I'll tell you, let's do this. Let's do a Facebook Live next week. Give people a week to do this, and then do a Facebook Live and see if people want to show up and tell us how it went for them.
Perfect. You heard it here first. I love that we come up with ideas right here on the spot. So
it's so fun.
Diann, thank you so much. And if people want to reach you, because you are also a life coach who really helps people transform their lives, what would be the best way to do that?
Just head on over to my website, thedrivenwoman.com. And you can either sign up to get emails from me, or if you're thinking about hiring a coach and think I might be the one for you, you can sign up for a free consultation there as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, we'll see you on the Facebook Live.
I love the way Diann brings science into everything that she does, because I think it's really important for those who are a little bit more logic-based, who aren't necessarily all about the feelings and the woo-woo and all that stuff, that this is scientifically backed. That mindset is and always will be one of the most important things in your life. So if you can take something from this, whether you download a free app or you just take a few minutes to be quiet with yourself and start shifting your mindset into believing that you are exactly who you are meant to be and where you should be right at this moment, and that you are capable of all the things that you want to do, then I believe my job and Diann's job is done. Thank you so much for listening. If there's someone in your life who could benefit from this episode, please share. If you like what you hear, subscribe to the podcast. It will make it so much easier for it to just pop up on your podcast app, and you don't have to do any work from week to week in order to listen. I appreciate you. I invite you to join us in the 40 Thrive Facebook group. Take care and keep thriving. Spring has sprung. And with the change of seasons, sometimes comes an increase in vitality. If you're feeling in the mood for a little more personal time, may I suggest Coconut. Coconut is all about providing clean and natural ingredients when you're enjoying your most intimate moments, with or without a partner.
naturally safe products developed by people who are obsessed with quality. Get 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/coconut. That's 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/coconut.